Joe, it's great to have you on the podcast today. And just so everybody understands, I like to share how I connected with everybody that comes on. So Joe and I
Right.
met in yeah, Joe and I met in a men's group. It's called Warriors Be Fit, and our friend Gordon, mutual friend, decided to start this. And you and I had a conversation outside of that for about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And we thought it'd be a good fit for you to come on and share your journey with everybody who's listening.
Yeah.
And I'll just start off with that, Joe. I mean, just share with us who you are and what you're passionate about, and then we'll just dive into how you got to become who you are today.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm an author and public speaker, and I like to think of myself as a mentor or a coach as well. I've done a lot of study in that area, and what brought me to where I am today, really, if you want to go way back, well over 25 years ago, I kicked a drug habit. I was a drug addict for probably 20 years, from the point that I graduated from high school forward 20 years. And I got into substances, some pretty hardcore stuff. And, and during that time, it was funny because I would watch things like Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer, and I always had this like something inside of me, that just kept like nagging or nudging me to quit doing what I was doing. First of all, because it was so unproductive and destructive, actually. Um, and I've always thought that there was something more for me in my life. But after that long period of time of doing drugs, you start to think, is there really something? Because I was at that point where it was like I was almost like backed up in a corner with nowhere to go, because I tried to quit, and the times that I tried, I was able to take very brief moments off, and then I'm back to the same habit again. And it was actually while I was a regional manager, because a large part of this time, this period of my life, I was actually functioning fine from a work standpoint. I was never like out of work or you know treading that fine line of losing a place to live or going homeless or anything like that. I was actually a functional drug addict. And I was a regional manager for a company, and I won't name the company, but I had to hire somebody up in the Bay Area as a sales rep for the company. And it was one of these situations that you know uh, you start to get to a point in your life, I think, and I don't know, a lot of people go through this, where they start to realize that there really is something greater than us that is involved in what's going on. And if you connect to that, and I personally call it God. I went to 12 years of Catholic school. Today, I don't really go to church, but I meditate, and that's my church. I like to spend time quiet, connect to that spirit within me, and I believe that everybody has that in them. And I always started to, or in this situation, what transpired, I just felt like this omnipotent source that is out there, that I refer to as God, was working on my behalf, because I had one of these moments one night, where I was doing what I was doing, and I actually had a what I would call a come to Jesus moment. And for me, it was just having a conversation with God, and I knew I was in trouble with what I was doing, and I wasn't going to be able to get out of that situation alone. And so I prayed to God to help me. I said, specifically said, you need to intervene here, because I can't do this on my own. And it was ironic, because at that time I was looking to hire somebody up in the Bay Area. Well, a guy sends in his resume, and this guy was so overqualified for the position I was looking to fill. I just tossed the resume on the side of the desk, after scanning it for a very short period of time. And I go, that guy's never going to want this job, because it was a, street level, I would call it a peddler type sales position, door to door. And anyway, um, something kept nagging me again to call him. And this guy had served as like a vice president of sales. He's built sales teams and all, it's like, and inside of me, it was just like, call him, call him. It wasn't like a voice that I could hear, but it was a feeling. And I'll talk about that in a little bit later in our conversation. But I finally called him with a sort of a cliche opening after introducing myself. And I said, Dave, you're really way overqualified for this position. And his exact words were, Joe, I know exactly what the position is, and I'd like you to meet with me so we could talk about it. So I said, seriously? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And why don't you give me the last appointment of the day, or your last meeting of the day, when you come up to meet your candidates? Well, it just so happens the guy, his name's Dave Hill, Dr. Dave Hill. He's a master hypnotist. And this guy is brilliant. And when I met with him, it was like about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we went into a discussion about all kinds of things, but focused around, the mind, because what he revealed to me was that he was a hypnotist. And he was right up front and said, but it won't, deter me from doing what I need to do for you as a sales rep for the company. And I said, you know what, Dave, if you really want this job, I mean, you can have it. And he said, yeah, I'd like to come to work for you. So he said, I'd also like to help you with anything else you need. And which kind of struck me, it was a little odd. But he then went on to tell me why he wanted this job. And it was to pay alimony to the woman that he had just divorced. And he wanted to create another stream of income that he can just handle, that issue with her. And he told me why they divorced. She happened to be an alcoholic. And that's when the light went on for me. It was like, wow. So here I am, a functioning drug addict, and I'm interviewing a hypnotist who had an alcoholic wife, who I asked him, why don't you help her? And he said, she just doesn't want the help. The urge or the power of the alcohol, or the alcohol has more control over her than her desire to want to heal herself. And that was really interesting to me. And then he came right back at me with a question, why do you have any needs in that area? And it was like, shit.
Yeah.
Excuse
Oh,
me.
by the way, right?
It's like, geez, who talked to this guy before I sat down and met with him? So anyway, long story short, over the course of the next 6 months, Dave and I actually became pretty good friends, and he's still my friend today. I call on him occasionally for advice and have discussions with him about various topics. But he actually asked me at one point, what do you want to do with your life? And I go, I'd like to do something like what you do. And because it's always interested me, the question has always been on my mind, what really drives people to be, what drives this segment of the population to be successful? And then there's the majority of us who aren't. What's going on there? And so, he said, I could teach you a lot about hypnosis if that's what you're interested in. And he goes, I even have a school, because he had this rules of the mind school that he's a professional and certified or licensed to certify other people in the area of hypnosis. So I actually jumped into that with him, and I became a certified hypnotherapist. And I became my first client, so to speak, and my first and only, really. I guess I could say not really only. I've had like about less than a handful of people that I've helped with hypnosis. But I became my first client because of something Dave taught me initially, and that was all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So my question to him was, so you're telling me you're not doing anything on stage to hypnotize people? And he goes, no, that's not what I'm saying. um, yeah, there's a role that I play, and it's just facilitating the process of getting somebody into that hyper relaxed state. Because what you have to do is you have to diminish what is called the critical faculty. The critical faculty is the part of the mind, or the barrier between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And there's a part of the conscious mind, or this critical faculty, that is resistant, and always brings up, it's more or less the a part like the ego that is resisting what you want to do, or what you want to think. And you need to like make that barrier relaxed, and have it fade so that you can communicate directly to the subconscious. And so as he explained this to me, he said you could do the same thing in self-hypnosis, and you could, create your own pattern, like record your own pattern. But there's other ways of doing it, and he gave me some books on how to do it. So I started putting that into practice. And essentially, there's the only real difference between hypnosis and meditation. And I would say there's two types of meditation. There's a passive meditation, which is like transcendental meditation, and that's when you get into a relaxed state. You calm your chattering in the mind, and you really just kind of settle into a relaxed feeling, and go inside of yourself. Then there's a what I would call an active meditation, or it's commonly referred to as an active meditation, and that is when you go into a meditative state, and you are actually in pursuit of some end result. In other words, you want to create something new in your life. If you have a desire to bring something like, new automobile or new home or a business, you actually create that vision in your mind. It becomes a part of the meditation, and that's why it's called active meditation, because you actually go into the meditation and bring that into this process, and you're in pursuit of that result, if you will. So self-hypnosis is more like active meditation. It's like, I've heard somebody refer to it as hypnosis is like meditation with an objective. And that's what active meditation is. It's meditation, but you have an objective. You're not just your desire, your objective going into a TM style meditation is just nothing more than relaxation. It gets you grounded and settled, and you calm the talking, the noise in your head, the monkey mind, if you will. So I learned how to do that, learned how to do self-hypnosis, and I started creating visions for myself, like pictures of what is it that I want. And first and foremost was to kick this habit that I had. And so I have, you have to understand that all human beings, we can never rise above the opinion that we have of ourselves. And the opinion we have of ourselves is our self-image. Well, in order to achieve anything other than that in your life, you have to create a new self-image. And so that's what I was doing initially, was creating me as a clean, sober and fully functioning executive, if you will, because I was, in management positions in the corporate world, and I started to move in that direction. And ironically, it took me a short period of time to get past that point where I no longer had this desire to want to do the drug. And a part of that was there was another person that came into my life at close to the same time. And that was a woman who I actually had a 20-year relationship, and we actually married. Unfortunately, it didn't last, and we did divorce. But to this day, I mean, I still have a lot of love for her, and she served a purpose in my life, and that was to help help me at that period of time, as well as then move forward with my life and creating something really special with her. Um, so that's kind of what brought me to where I am today. That, and I did use that same process then to become a self-published author. And so I've written several books. I've written fiction, nonfiction, and I'm in the throes of a children's series right now. And all of what I have written has been around this idea of how the mind functions, and this process that I came up with when I started doing self-hypnosis. And that process, I call it the hypnotic formula. And if you were to talk to Dave Hill, he would tell you that it's not the hypnotic formula in truth. There is a hypnotic formula that hypnotists will, they adhere to, if you will. And what I created was just something, different, and it's my own. So I call it the hypnotic formula because for me, it is sort of the process, or it is the process that I went through as I, number one, kicked the habit, took my corporate career from where I was at up to a couple other levels, and then ultimately became a self-published author as well, created that. And the process is just a 4-step process, but the key is the first 3 steps, truly. And it's think, believe, and feel. And if you master those 3 steps, the 4th step comes naturally, because once you embed an idea at the subconscious level, you start to behave, and it becomes a pattern of behavior. So what I did really in quitting the habit that I had for 20 years, I created a new habit, which I'm open to say was my relationship. While I was doing drugs, I was not really seeking a relationship. I was more interested in doing the drug. And when I got into it so deep, I didn't know any way out. What Dave taught me was there is a way out, and that is to replace the habit that you're currently engulfed in, and you replace it with something that serves you better. And it was, a godsend to me that this other person, this young lady, came into my life at about exactly the same time that Dave came into my life. And I will tell you that was part of my conversation with God as well. I knew I needed help in kicking the habit, and I needed to get my life straightened out and get into a healthy relationship with someone. And in my opinion, that's the universe working for me. He brought both elements into my life at about the same time. So for me, there's, people can argue that, and that's fine. I believe what I believe. And I know that, there is an opportunity for everybody on this planet to truly create what they desire in life. You just have to know how to do it, and how to do it properly. So,
Yeah, opportunities come all the time, right? But
yeah,
people just bypass them like they don't exist in a way. They're like, yeah,
exactly.
okay, forget it. That's not real. This ain't happening.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you're saying with as far as meditating, hypnosis, whatever you want to call it, right? What would you say? Think, feel, and what was the other one?
It was think, believe, and feel.
Think, believe, and feel, and then it becomes reality. Would
Yeah.
that be the last one? Yeah,
Well, the last one would be create, and you're absolutely
great.
right. It becomes
Okay.
reality. And
Yeah,
one of the reasons for that is so let's just go through the process real quick. So
sure.
think is where you use your one of your superpowers, as Napoleon Hill described in Think and Grow Rich,
Mhm.
which, by the way, is not about getting rich. It's really about utilizing the faculties that you have within you already to move forward with, whatever it is you desire to create in your life. Now, whether if it is wealth, hey, by all means, you can get it, but it doesn't have to be. it was just it's a catchy title and it sold a hell of a lot of books. But one of those superpowers is imagination. So use your imagination in that first step to imagine what it is that you would like to create, whether it's a new desire or what it is you want to change. And in my case, that initial utilization of this process, I needed to change my behavior. What I was doing at that moment was very self-destructive, and it would have I probably wouldn't be here talking to you, John. It was so destructive that, you know, 25 years later, I might not be here, to be honest with you. So you use that faculty, you use that imagination to create a picture of what it is, Joe Frazette looks like. In me as an example, what did I look like as a clean, polished executive, experiencing success in the corporate world? I had to develop that or create that picture in my mind. And every day I had to do self-hypnosis or meditation, if you want to call it that. And when I got past what's called the induction period, and induction, all that is in hypnosis is getting from the beta state to the alpha state. So you're transitioning into what we call in hypnosis a hyper relaxed state. Now, in that hyper relaxed state, you never fall asleep in hypnosis if you're doing it right. You're just very, very relaxed. And like I said, you open up the pathway to the subconscious mind. And so as you get past induction and you get into that really relaxed state, then you consciously can bring up that image, and then that's think. And we'll talk about that, because it could be I don't want it to be misunderstood, and so we'll get to that in a moment. But then you got to go to belief. Now, in belief, before you even get into hypnosis, you've got to believe, and some of this takes faith, and so you have to believe, number one, in your ability to create what it is that you desire in life, whether it's create a new life for yourself, create a situation where, you're able to buy the home of your dreams, or whatever it is. You have to believe in your ability to do that. And part of that is believing that you're not in it alone, that you're actually a co-creator with the divine. And if you start, I like to say, if you start from the heart, and this was part of the talk where I met Gordon. If you start from the heart, your chances of achieving whatever it is that you are after are far greater. And I'm going to explain that in a minute.
Yeah, then I just want to say it's hard for some people to get to that heart.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. And part of the reason, John, is the ego is a powerful, it's a powerful illusion, is what it is. The ego it's a human concept, or it was created by humanity, or it's a human construct, I guess is the better term. And the ego is going to battle and battle and battle, because it is an illusion. And the only way that it exists is to convince us that it's real. And the way that it does that is to try to convince you that you're not good enough. You don't have the resources. You need me around to protect you. That's what the ego's ongoing conversation in our head is. And that's why I say, so when you get into the process that I'm talking about, if you start from the heart rather than the mind, where most people think that you start with the mind, but thinking is a function of the ego, whereas feeling, step number 3, is a function of the heart. And the heart actually has as much thinking capacity or more than the mind. And so as you go into this state, you start with thought, And the idea, because you have to have that, you have to utilize your imagination to create that picture. But then you have to believe. That's the second step. And the third step is feel. Now, I call these steps, but this happens quickly. It's not like you're going to go spend 15 minutes on one and then, another 20 on the next. It happens quickly. And when you get into that state and you move your attention into the heart, now what happens is, as you create, as you go through this process and start creating, this idea that you drummed up for yourself, and you start from the heart, you're moving the ego aside, and you're actually doing what you do with what I would call the spiritual mindset. And this is something that I learned in my year study of A Course in Miracles, is that there's actually two mindsets that human beings, that we have the capability of utilizing. And one being the ego mindset, the other is the mindset of the Spirit, or Holy Spirit is what they call it in A Course in Miracles. And when you start from the heart, that's what you're working with, is the spiritual mindset. And that is where we co-create with the divine. You're a co-creator with God. So when you move the ego aside and start working with the spiritual mind, your partner is the creator of everything, including ourselves. It's actually the only life, in my belief, it's the only life there is. And what we are is a unique manifestation of that which we come from. So, I know that, is something that some people may argue. I don't know. I mean, there's for me, it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, we are what we come from, and it resides in each and every one of us. It's the connecting link, if you will, that connects each and every one of us. So truly, I'm you and you're me, because we're operating really, or we're existing right now in this physical matter reality, with the same, divine spirit, if you will, inside of us. And it's outside of us as well. It's everywhere. It's everything. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Great story. You better stick to it.
Yeah.
No, I've heard, and you're sharing with me the same thing I've heard before, of opening up your heart, listen to your heart more. And
Yeah.
I agree with that. I've done over 50 episodes with 50 different people, right? And I think everybody that's come on has probably had a big heart open up.
Yeah.
Being willing to share their journey in life and just take in what was and what is.
Yeah.
And I feel it myself too. Like I feel like I'm at peace, right? And you just I mean, that's my term for it. I feel great, you know.
Yeah.
Uh and yeah, the shift from your ego, like you said, to your heart, it takes a lot for some people to even want to try to do that, because they are
Yeah.
stuck on that ego. Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt.
Uh,
That ego is it's a very strong construct. And it's not going to give up easily. I would say that the ego in the modern world, it has really become has overgrown, and part of that is humanity has allowed that, because we a lot of humanity sees life, and sees themselves. I mean, think about it. We have a lot of chaos and war, killings, murder, rapes. Why do human beings do this to each other? It's because we are living, well, I would say let me take a step back. There's two emotions that drive human behavior, and only two emotions, and everything else stems from those two emotions. And number one is fear, and number two, which is actually should be number one, is love. So if you settle into love on a day-to-day basis and truly understand what we are, um, you start looking at life differently, and you start looking at everything in life much differently. I mean, now for me, I come across strangers, and I meet people and start having conversations with them. And actually, I met a guy. Uh, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, at a government office, and we started having a conversation. And anyway, now we're texting each other, and we're going to go have coffee together. And this is a man that's a little bit older than myself. He's a black man from Louisiana. And but for me, and I just preface that because I want you to get the idea of what it is I'm doing. um, yeah, you notice what people may look like physically, but I like to go beyond that and look at somebody. You look them in their eyes and you see the spirit within them. And don't get hung up on what the physicality is, what their physical appearance is, because that's just an illusion. All it is the suit, if you will, that person is, utilizing in this, in this lifetime. And we live multiple lives, in my opinion. Um, and the suit, if you will, is going to decompose, and you're going to leave it behind, and then you're going to cycle back at some point in a new suit. And so that's why I say, you are me and I am you. And I could go on and on. I mean, we are all connected. It is all one life. And if you start to look at it in that way, and look at it in terms of, I am the universe, and this thing that you see in the mirror is nothing more than an actor in a play. You think of it in those terms. I've done a course with a gentleman, Peter Sage, and he really dives deep into all this stuff. And we always use the idea that you are, in your own movie. You're the star of your own movie. You're also the producer of your own movie. so, um, so think of it in those terms, and know that, yeah, you're much greater than what you might think as you look in the mirror in the morning, and brushing your teeth or whatever, and you're looking at that physical form. And I always ask people, when you look in the mirror, who do you think you are? The form that you see in the mirror, or um, the background, the observer in the background? And it gives pause for a lot of people to think, because we are truly the observer. The form in the mirror is just, like I said, that's what we showed up in this world with. um, and that is, in my opinion, that is God experiencing the physical world through us. um, and I don't think that the creator had any intention at all of having all this chaos that we've created in the world. We truly have, because that um, the divine doesn't have fear in its existence. It exists in a singular world, in that world or singular realm, and that realm is nothing but love. It doesn't have fear. And so, that's what human beings have brought into the equation, is the fear. And, this is what we're doing on this planet, is evolving. And hopefully at some point, we ultimately create heaven on earth. Now, does that sound like far-fetched to some? But for me, not at all. I mean, I really think that is the intention of the creators, is to experience life in the physical realm, but do it in the state of love, so that we're not doing the crazy things that we do.
Yeah. I wanted to share a quick story because how you brought up the
Yeah, go
guy
on, please.
that you ran into. And I'm sharing this because I feel the part of love, right?
Yeah.
So I walk my dog every once in a while. We go window shopping. She doesn't like to spend a lot of money, which is great. And we all walked by this old couple. I guess they were on a date or something, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they were coming out of the restaurant, and the I would imagine it was the wife. She's just like, "Oh, pretty dog, cute dog." And normally, me in the past, I probably would just keep walking, right? But I
Yeah.
stopped. She tried to pet her. She didn't. My dog didn't want it. But anyways,
Yeah.
she started talking about how their dog passed away back in January. Where'd you get yours? And it just kept on escalating a little bit. Whereas the gentleman didn't really want any part of it. He's waiting for the Uber or whatever. And they're
Yeah.
older. They're older than me, man. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Our ride's here. And she's like, okay, but she was enjoying the conversation, and she probably needed it in a way for whatever reason, right? Because
No
she probably,
doubt.
yeah, she lost her dog. I don't know why. We didn't really talk long, but it was enough for her to smile. She smiled a lot, and I think it was just me stopping for that moment was
No
probably
doubt.
enough to fulfill her night. You know what I mean? She probably went home happy. These are my thoughts, right? And I was able to walk fine too.
Yeah.
I didn't start thinking I should have stopped when I already did. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's taking those little moments too, and just opening up to the people around you that you might not even think need it,
No
right?
doubt.
So yeah, I wanted to share that because you shared the guy and everything, and you
Yeah.
know,
Well,
it sparked.
I bet that gave you a good feeling too. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, oh absolutely.
you know,
Yeah, because we started talking. My dog's a rescue, so she was asking, "Where'd you get? How'd you do it? Find and
you know,
like I said, this is like 5 minutes, so it wasn't like that long of a
right.
talk. But yeah, it was good. And every once in a while, people do stop. Oh, nice dog, pretty dog. And I try to stop for them too. Just have a
Sure.
conversation, or just it's just a dog, right?
Yeah.
Um, by the way, my dog's name is Rain, so I don't want to keep on saying dog all the time. But
Yeah.
anyway, anyways, uh, the fear I think is a big part of people's problems,
Yeah.
and I probably had a lot of fear in my head for so long up to a certain point in life where things
Yeah.
changed for me. And now I just accept things for as they are, and I just take a leap of faith, and I've been trusting things to happen. And I know we've discussed it prior to all this, where opportunities just show up. And you can pray, you can meditate, think, feel, create, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And the stuff just comes to you, right? So I mean, who would have thought that you and I would have met in a group from Gordon and we
No
would be
doubt.
here talking, right? You know what I mean? And who
Yeah.
knows where this is going to go? I don't know, you
Yeah.
know. But this is great. I am excited that you shared how hypnosis worked for you,
Yeah.
right? Where other people are going to think, well, they just got hypnotized on stage or whatever, and they wake up at
No.
like they're a chicken or something, right? And where this is totally different, and it doesn't matter what worked for you as long as it worked,
Yeah.
right? Other
Yeah.
people can stop stone cold, whatever they're doing, the addiction, whatever,
Yeah.
but other people need support, and I've come across a lot of people that were addicted to something, and
Yeah.
they had to find somebody, some kind of
Yeah.
group or whatever to help support them. So
Yeah. I
I
mean,
appreciate you sharing that.
there's all types of vices that people become addicted to. I actually read an article the other day. Living in Las Vegas, I'm surrounded by gambling. And I mean that is the primary um, you know industry, I guess, in Las Vegas. Um, and this article was talking about the problem that we have now in the country with young, like teenage folks gambling. And it is a problem. And I think a lot of people, they don't see that side of it. um, and that doesn't mean that everybody that gambles is going to become addicted to it, but there's that possibility. And when you get past that, there's like that fine line. When you cross that fine line, that is something that can destroy your life. There's no doubt about it, just like drugs would. So it doesn't really, there's no, hard set rules on what vices to stay away from. I would say, just keep your eyes open and live your life in awareness. And people say, what do you mean live your life in awareness? Well, or in the moment. And a lot of people don't really truly understand being present. And for me, being present is, just taking a pause every 15 minutes or so. And I do this on my own every day, where I could be in my home office, or at my work office, or I could be out taking a walk even. And I'll just all of a sudden just like pause and observe the moment and how I feel in that moment. What do my feet feel like, or my legs if I'm walking, or if I'm sitting down like right now, what does my butt feel like on the seat, that type of thing. That's really bringing you into the present moment. And when you make that a practice, you do start doing that more often, where, I'm not going to say that you can be present, 24, or maybe not 24 hours a day, because you got to sleep, but be present every moment that you're awake, because we do have a mind that, vacillates between, conscious and unconscious. And but if you do this little practice, you could bring yourself to living life in awareness more often, so that you don't slip into that auto drive, unless the auto drive is something that you put in place. You see, we are a product of all the information that was dumped into our mind at an early age. And that's one of the reasons I got into children's books. I actually have a series that I call JoJo Goose, and and each of the books, the first one was The Power of Intuition. The second one was JoJo Learns the Power of Imagination. The third was JoJo Learns How to Create, which covers the four steps. The fourth one, which I'm now in the process of creating, I have the manuscript with the artist right now, and that one is JoJo Learns the Power of Forgiveness, and the final is going to be JoJo Learns the Power of Love. And what these are books that I'm hoping will have an impact on kids' lives, whose parents get these for them and read it to them when they're 3 years old, if they can't read on their own. It's what it's doing is it's putting these ideas in a child's mind that then gets embedded at the subconscious level, so that when they move further into life, these are the paradigms that are sitting at the subconscious level that are actually driving their behavior every day. So if you learn, that you have an imagination and you can create whatever you desire in life, imagine that paradigm moving you, rather than stop, don't do that. Because kids hear that and they make an association from that to I'm not good enough. That's what happens. So I'm actually talking to a guy right now that I actually met through the EMF with Peter Sage, and we're talking about putting together schools in different countries. Something that he embarked on with his wife already one time in Guatemala. And he like me, unfortunately, went through a divorce, and he wants to do this again. And we met. We've actually met a couple of times over coffee and breakfast, and he's got the template really for putting this thing together, and he's looking to create the mastermind. And I go, I'm in, man. I told him about my children's series, and he just goes, yeah, this is awesome. So that's what we're looking to do. Because I did ask him, I said, well, what, you putting schools together, what age groups? And he goes, everything from preschool through high school, 3 to 17 or 18. And I'm going, oh gosh. I go, I have a children's series that I'm putting together, and on Amazon you got to put ages, and my book is for, or my books are for 3 to 7 years old. So I go, I'd love to be a part of your mastermind. I'd love to be a part of this project, because I think that if you get to a certain number of people, young people, okay, kids, in a generation, you can change the behavior of humanity. And that is really what we need to do, is we need to realize what we're doing to ourselves and stop doing that, and replace it with, something that serves us better, which is, replace fear with love. Because I will say, most human beings seem to operate on fear. And that is because we constantly live day to day with this idea that we're separate from one another, or this other idea, and it's an illusion to me, is competition. And people get that idea from everything that we, are engulfed with, in sports, politicking, you name it. I mean, there's competition all the time. And I had this discussion years and years ago, with my dad about that, talking about competition and capitalism, and how competition is, like the lifeblood of capitalism. And I said, no, it's really not. The lifeblood of capitalism is collaboration and creativity. It's when you have a creative idea and you collaborate with people that I would call my mastermind, that you bring that idea to life. That is the foundation for the success of capitalism. It's not competing against somebody, because don't mistake this by thinking that because you have a competitor, it's going to drive you to do something better. That's insanity. That is insanity. What that does is it puts your focus on the competitor rather than on what you're doing. Put your attention on what you're doing, and it expands, it grows. That's a rule of the mind. That's very basic. So yeah, there's a bunch of Coke or Pepsi, lovers, and they'll talk about competition all the time, but both companies are very successful. Why is that? Because they put their attention on what they're doing. The people that want Coke are going to gravitate to that. And I would say that that goes for everything in life. So like going forward, John, if you decided to do something, in the business realm, open up your own business, for example, and even doing podcasts, I'm sure you've realized that as soon as you started doing podcasts, and we were talking about this earlier, you just started getting a flow of guests coming to you, because when you show up, the people that are looking for you, they'll find you, no matter what you're doing. So that's why you need to like start from the heart and operate, with a spiritual mindset, because you're here for a reason. And the working with the heart from the start puts you into that path, and you start to get into the flow of life, and whatever it is that you're passionate about, go for it, because the people that are meant to find you will find you. I firmly believe that. Yeah.
And I'll second that too. And then a lot of people think, oh, well, you don't have the money, blah, 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 right? All that comes later. If you want it, it's going to come to you, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, Joe, you shared such an incredible journey. And, I just wanted you to share how people can connect with you to see, about your books or whatever you decide you want to share.
Yep.
What's the best way for them to connect?
Well, I'm doing a revamp, actually, because I'm honing in my speaking skills to get out on a speaking circuit. I'm working with Christoph J. Wyman, who you also know, and I'm revamping some of my social media websites and things like that. But for now, you could find my books on Amazon. If you put on the search bar, just type in Joe Frazette, and hit search. You'll get a listing of everything I've got on Amazon. And if you're interested in having a one-on-one conversation with me, Facebook, I'm on Facebook. You can again, type in Joe Frazette, and that's Joe, and then my last name is Frazzette. And if you want to direct message me, by all means, go right ahead. You could do the same thing on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and you could message me there as well. And I'd be happy to have a conversation. And if somebody wants to work with me on a one-on-one situation, I would be very happy to do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
We were
Yeah.
talking, John, earlier. I just wanted to say too, we talked about, some things that, we're doing, and even what you're doing right now, and how you're moving things forward. And I made the statement that, even if you touch one person's life, maybe that was what you were destined to do in this lifetime. Because, and I made the comment, not everybody can be, Anthony Robbins. That guy has, I don't know how many followers, but it's significant. But let's say you met, the next Anthony Robbins in your lifetime, and that person was inspired by something that you helped them with. Now you've impacted how many lives? Not just that one, everybody that person touches. So think of it in those terms. We're not here, like I said, as an individual. We are not a part of life. We are life. And if you take that concept and go forward with it, you're impacting life. And I'm talking the totality of life, no matter, how many unique individuals you touch. So just wanted to make that one last statement.
Oh, that's great. I agree with that. So it could be that one person that listens to this, they go share
Yeah.
it with their family, they go share it with their friends, and they take one thing away from this and they spread it like wildfire. Maybe, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Who
But
knows
that's all
what
it's
can happen?
that's all it's gonna take. So
Yeah.
I have one question to ask you, and
Yeah,
then we'll be
absolutely.
done. But so what are three key things you've learned and used along your journey?
Oh man. Well, three key things I would say. First and foremost, um, is, and it's along the theme of loving, and that would be to love myself. Um, that is so critical. I mean, a lot of people, and I'm not perfect. I still sometimes have those days where it's like, God, Joe, why are you doing that? Or, I have these thoughts in my head that I'm, screwing something up, or, my life is not where it should be, that type of thing. And it's like, no, your life is where it should be. And you just need to get comfortable with that, and keep moving forward. But love yourself. And if you love yourself, there's so much goodness that stems from that. Um, the other thing is, like, Anthony Robbins has something that Peter Sage also uses, and that's the six. They're like the now I can't think, the six basic needs, human needs. And we have a need for uncertainty, we have a need for certainty, we have a need for love, a need for companionship, I think it is, a need for growth and contribution. So that's the six. Four of those are an illusion. Only two of them are what you really want to focus on, and that is growth and contribution. Are you growing in your life? What are you doing day to day to improve, to become a better you? Because the best you is going to be helpful to the people that you're supposed to connect with in life. So, are you growing? And then, what are you contributing? If you go through life with a me type attitude, that's it's not going to work. I mean, ultimately, you're going to crash and burn. And I would say, you know, be aware of how you're contributing to life, and who are you touching. And this all really kind of comes back to that idea of operating in fear or love. And if you settle on love, I mean, there's so much good that comes out of that. So those, I think those are probably the three key things: is stay in the state of love, and first and foremost, love yourself. Because you will not be able to project that unless you love yourself. right? I mean, like they say, you can't give away what you don't have. If you have self-love, then you can give a lot of it away. And then the other two really is be aware that life is not a comfort centric experience; it's a growth centric experience. So, what are you doing to grow? And then the final is contribute. What are you doing to contribute to humankind? And it could be a small contribution. It doesn't have to be grandiose. I mean, for me, what I truly am looking to do is, I don't have kids of my own, and maybe that's some reason why I, got this idea about children's books. And I could go into a long story about that, but we'll save that for another time, maybe. Um, but whatever it is you're contributing, it's probably something that is going to impact somebody in a really positive way, whether it's one person like what we just talked about. And if it is one person, believe me, it's impacting the whole of life. It's impacting everything in life, not just that one person. So don't be small minded, be big, be broad minded, and think big, because whatever you contribute to humanity is benefiting all of humanity. Yeah,
Kind of like the butterfly effect, right?
exactly.
We'll go with that too. Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. Joe, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your journey. And just
I
like you
love it.
said, maybe we'll have you come back on again and jump into something else that you mentioned. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you
would
very
love that.
much.
John, we had from the time we met. I mean, I met Gordon at the Heart to Heart Summit, and he's a great guy. And when I joined Warriors Be Fit, you know, and met you, and we had a conversation. Then we had another conversation, on the side on our own. You're a great guy, and I love what you're doing, and I actually want to work with you a little bit on helping me get to that point where I'm starting my own podcast as well. But you're doing some great things, and I commend you for that. I really do. Yeah, thank you very
Appreciate
much
it.
for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, John, take care.
You too.